All right, so get ready because today on the Artificial Banter podcast, we are taking a deep dive into a question that's surprisingly controversial.
Oh, yeah.
A question that has likely fueled more debates than, like, pineapple on pizza. I'm talking, of course, about the age-old question, is a hot dog a sandwich?
Well, it's amazing how much passion this topic generates.
Yeah.
You've provided a ton of arguments both for and against the sandwichhood of the humble hot dog, and I have to say I am ready to dig in.
Okay, so let's start with the pro-sandwich side, shall we? Those who believe the hot dog rightfully belongs in the sandwich family, they often point to the classic definition of a sandwich, right?
Right.
Two pieces of bread with some kind of filling and, even though a hot dog bun is connected, it's all one piece,
Yeah.
it does technically enclose that sausagey goodness.
Yeah, it's a compelling argument, I think, when you look at it that way, especially if you consider subs and hoagies, right?
Right.
Those are undeniably sandwiches, and they have a very similar bun structure.
Exactly.
No one's out there saying a sub isn't a sandwich.
Yeah, no one's picketing sub shops.
Exactly.
And if you look at, like, the USDA, the United States Department of Agriculture, the folks who kind of get to decide these things when it comes to food,
Right, the big dogs.
the big dogs,
Yeah.
they have an official definition of a sandwich.
They do.
And it is pretty broad.
Oh, yeah.
They say it is meat or poultry filling between two slices of bread, a bun, or a biscuit.
Mm,
I mean, a hot dog bun is definitely a type of bread.
right.
Because holding that meat filling so case closed, right?
Well, it's interesting because that definition doesn't specifically say that the bread has to be in two separate slices.
Oh, that's a good point.
So, that ambiguity, I think, leaves a little wiggle room for interpretation.
Totally.
And it kind of makes you wonder, like, what was the intention behind that broad definition?
Right.
Was it a conscious decision to include all these sandwich-like creations, or was it, just a coincidence?
Yeah, like was there a room full of people in, suits
Right.
arguing over what is and is not a sandwich?
I would love to have been a fly on the wall for that conversation.
Oh, man, that'd be an amazing deep dive.
Absolutely.
Okay, so then we also have the functional argument, right? Like,
Yeah.
sandwiches are designed for easy handheld eating.
Uh-huh.
And a hot dog, you're not going to sit down with a knife and fork and cut into a hot dog.
I mean, you could.
You could.
But people would look at you funny.
Yeah, they'd be like, what are you doing?
Right.
But speaking of food classification systems, have you heard of the cube rule?
I have heard of the cube rule.
Okay, so for folks who haven't,
Yeah.
imagine a cube, okay?
Okay.
And now picture where the starch is on a given food item.
Okay.
So like a taco, for example,
Uh-huh.
has starch on the bottom
Right.
and two sides,
Okay.
whereas a sandwich has starch on both sides.
Right.
It's a way to visualize the structural differences in food.
I love that.
Yeah, so now, okay, picture a hot dog in your hand.
Okay.
If it's whole, it has bread on three sides, right?
Right.
Kind of like a taco.
Right.
But as soon as you split that bun open, bam,
Oh.
starch on two sides.
Yeah.
We're in sandwich territory, according to the cube rule.
So it's all about the structural integrity. It's very interesting.
It's a fascinating way to look at it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got a pretty good case for team sandwich so far.
We do.
But before we go and, get all the sandwich lovers, riled up,
Yeah.
there's a whole other side to this debate.
Of course.
The anti-sandwich folks have some really compelling argument, too.
Yeah.
And they're not just, being difficult.
Right.
They're coming with some serious culinary logic.
Yeah.
And they kind of start by questioning the very nature of the hot dog bun itself.
Oh, yeah.
Like, yes, it's bread-like,
Mm-hmm.
but it's fundamentally one piece. It's not two distinct slices like you'd find in like a classic sandwich.
Right.
So then that begs the question,
Yeah.
what about tacos and burritos?
Exactly.
They also have that one piece of starch thing going on.
That's right.
Are we going to have to rethink our whole understanding of what a sandwich is?
It's a slippery slope.
Really?
Once you start questioning the fundamentals of sandwichness, where do you stop? It's the question, isn't it? Like, if a hot dog is a sandwich because of the bun, then what about a caco or a burrito or a gyro?
Yeah, are we living in a world where, like, anything wrapped in some sort of starch is automatically a sandwich? I mean, it does kind of feel like we're venturing into like a culinary identity crisis here.
It's a crisis of definition.
Right.
Is it just about the structure, or is there something more?
I think maybe it's also about how we, culturally, like how we perceive these foods.
Yeah.
Like in everyday conversation, we don't call a hot dog a sandwich.
No, we don't.
Like I've never like gone to a deli and been like, "Can I get a sandwich?"
Right.
And they're like, "Oh yeah, we've got this great hot dog special today."
Exactly.
There's a clear distinction in our minds, right?
Yeah, there's a cultural context that we can't ignore, I think.
Sure. Okay. But let's say just for fun that we like ignore the cultural norms for a minute
Okay.
and we just focus on the eating experience.
Okay.
So like a traditional sandwich, you've got fillings tucked between those two slices of bread.
Uh-huh.
But with a hot dog, The toppings, they're on top of the sausage.
It are.
It's a totally different construction, a different, like, eating experience.
Yeah, it's a different architectural structure, and that impacts how we consume it.
Totally.
And don't forget, even the USDA, with their broad definition of a sandwich,
Right.
they also have this separate category called sandwich-like product.
Oh, that's true.
It's like even they can't quite decide where the hot dog fits in.
It's like they're hedging their bets.
Right.
Like, we're not really sure, but it's kind of like a sandwich, but not really.
Exactly. It's in the gray area.
It's a culinary rebel.
It is.
It's like, I'm a hot dog, I make my own rules.
Right.
But that's part of the fun of it.
I think so.
Right? It keeps things interesting.
Keeps the debate alive.
It does. And, speaking of keeping things interesting,
Yes.
there's a whole other dimension to this debate that we haven't even touched on yet.
Oh, I love this part.
This is the side that's a little less serious.
Yes.
It's the side that embraces the absurdity of this whole thing.
Right.
So for our listeners who are, tuned into the Artificial Banter podcast and they're ready for some fun,
Right.
Get ready, because we're about to get silly.
Let's get silly.
Okay, so have you ever heard of the vibe test?
The vibe test. I love it.
Okay, so close your eyes, everyone, just for a second,
Okay.
and just think about the essence of a hot dog.
Okay, got it.
Now do the same thing, but think about a sandwich.
Right.
Do they have the same vibe?
I'm getting very different vibes.
I'm getting like, a backyard barbecue.
Yes.
Like summer, sunshine, grilling.
Absolutely.
But with a sandwich, it's like it could be anything.
It could be a fancy tea sandwich or a PB&J.
Right, exactly. It runs the gamut.
Totally different vibes.
Okay, so then there's the grandma test.
Oh, the grandma test. I love this one.
So picture this. You tell your grandma you're bringing her a sandwich,
Okay.
and you show up at her door, and you hand her a hot dog.
Oh, my God.
What does she say?
I think she'd laugh and be like, oh, you're a funny one.
Right, like, bless your heart.
Exactly.
You try, but a hot dog is not a sandwich.
Grandma knows best.
Grandmas, they know.
They do.
They've seen it all.
They've got that culinary wisdom.
Okay, how about this one? Menu test.
Okay, the menu test.
So you're at a restaurant.
Okay.
You're looking at the menu.
Yeah.
You see, grilled cheese club sandwich, BLT.
Mm-hmm.
And then right there in the middle, hot dog.
It just doesn't fit.
It looks wrong.
It's like wearing sneakers to a wedding.
Right, it just doesn't belong.
Doesn't belong.
Okay. And then there's what I like to call the Joey Chestnut principle.
Joey Chestnut, the competitive eater.
The one and only. This guy can eat like a zillion hot dogs in like 10 minutes.
It's amazing.
It's incredible.
It is.
But would he be as enthusiastic about a sandwich eating contest?
I don't know.
Would he dominate with the same, ferocity?
I think there's something unique about the hot dog eating experience.
Right, it's like its own sport.
It is.
It's performance art.
Absolutely.
Okay, and then finally we have the upside-down disaster factor.
Okay.
As the name suggests, this is all about structural integrity.
Okay.
You flip a regular sandwich upside down, no problem.
Right.
But try that with a hot dog.
Oh, it's a mess.
It's chaos.
Ketchup and mustard.
Fingerprints on the ceiling.
It's a disaster.
It's a hot dog explosion.
Exactly.
The hot dog is not meant to be inverted.
It's designed for upright consumption.
It is, which again kind of brings us back to the whole, is it more like a taco than a sandwich?
Right. It shares that structural similarity with the taco.
So after all that debate,
Right.
after the logic and the cultural considerations and the silliness,
Yeah.
where do we stand? Are we any closer to solving this age-old culinary mystery?
It's funny. I don't think we are any closer to a definitive answer.
Right.
But maybe that's okay.
Right?
I think the beauty of this whole debate is that there isn't a right or wrong answer.
Yeah.
It really comes down to, your own interpretation of the evidence, how much weight you give to different factors.
Okay.
And, maybe a little bit of personal preference.
Right. So for our listener out there who sent us, this huge collection of hot dog arguments,
Yeah.
what should they do? Should they be out there campaigning for official sandwich status for the hot dog?
I think the biggest takeaway from all of this is that food, it's not just about, eating to survive.
Right.
It's about culture. It's about shared experiences.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's about embracing the absurdity of it all.
Totally.
Yeah.
And, imagine you're at a party
Yeah.
and things are getting a little bit, boring.
Mm-hmm.
And you just drop is a hot dog a sandwich question.
Oh, yeah.
Suddenly everyone's a food expert.
Right. Everyone got an opinion.
It's an instant conversation starter.
Exactly. Food for thought and food for conversation.
So, dear listener, after this, journey, this deep dive into the heart of hot dog classification,
Yeah.
what's your verdict? Is a hot dog a sandwich?
What do you think?
Or is it something else entirely?
Like culinary enigma.
Maybe it's a sandwich-adjacent delicacy.
I like that sandwich adjacent.
Or maybe it's just a hot dog.
Just a hot dog.
You know, proudly standing on its own.
Exactly.
Refining categorization.
Right.
The world is your hot dog bun.
I love that.
You decide.
Embrace the delicious ambiguity.
Yes, enjoy the debate, and most importantly,
yeah,
enjoy that tasty combination of meat and bread.
absolutely.
And hey, if you want to really cause some chaos at your next gathering,
Oh, yeah.
just casually mention the whole, is cereal soup?
Debate. Oh, no, you didn't.
Oh, I did.
You're going to start a war.
You're welcome, and until next time on the Artificial Banter Podcast,
Yeah.
happy eating, everyone.